probably even taught by the same lecturers, joined similar webinars like we are doing right now. They've asked the same questions that you probably have. They probably even had the same doubts and concerns in the beginning, and maybe even the financial concerns that you have. I don't know. These just speculations because I saw on the question form, a lot of people were like funding. So maybe they had like same financial concerns. But the beautiful thing is that they have done it. They did it. They've done it, and that's why we are here tonight because they did it, right? Tonight is not just about giving motivational talks filled with empty quotes or wild stories that probably feel like 10 galaxies away. This webinar is real life. This is a chance to hear the actual journey from alumni who have made it through with their wins, their detours, their receipts, everything. And we're having this webinar because we believe that knowledge shouldn't be kept. That there's power in hearing someone say, this is how I started, this is what I did, this is what I would do differently if I have to do it again. And before I go into my conclusion, I just want to say a very big thank you to Mr. President for his support. I also want to say a very big thank you to our speakers. They've been super amazing from the moment I entered into their DMs. They were like really, really like approachable, really welcoming. They're super excited. They're ready. They're like, yes, let's do this. Right. So big thank you to them. Big thank you to my predecessors, the former chairpersons, in person of Dr. Kolade James Adigoke and Dr. Richard Ogunleye. They've been very helpful in helping me like navigate planning and all of that. So thank you to them. And as I close my opening address, I want to charge everybody here tonight. I'm just like, you know, I have my
Nigger,
notebook
nigger,
here. So,
nigger, nigger,
like,
fucking nigger, fucking nigger, fuck you nigger. Nigger, 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 nigger. Nigger,
Sorry, can you mute your mic?
nigger,
Who is
nigger,
that?
fucking nigger, fucking nigger, fucking nigger.
all right, I've removed him from the
Oh,
call.
oh
Sorry about
thank you.
that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So as I was saying, I want to charge everybody tonight. Don't just listen, engage, ask the questions on your mind. Let this session be your starting point, not just for passing an exam, but for owning your dreams. Because deciding to do your SMLE or to do your residency in the United States is not just a dream, it's something we are aspiring to. I know that the journey is tough, but as our speakers and many others have shown us, it is not impossible. And if there's one thing that I want you to take from tonight, I hope it's this that you can write your own match story too. So that's all from me. Let's get started. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Miss Chairperson. We appreciate your opening welcome, opening address. I mean, so briefly, let me introduce myself. Too, my name is Tosin Michael Tolawi, and popularly known as Dr. Mitch also. So, just like you came here, I'm also here to learn. So, without further ado, let's dive into the core of the session. We have an incredible speaker with us today who is going to navigate the USMLE journey and match into US residency. They have matched into US residency. Their personal story and insight will be invaluable to us. So, but before we invite them, we would like to read about their bio. So, I will do that now. Abdulkareem, Dr. Abdulkareem Babalola Motala, MBCHB, MPH, is a graduate of the College of Earth Sciences at Obafemi Awolowo University and earned a Master of Public Health in Health Policy from Emory University. He recently marched into an internal medicine residency program in the United States and aspires to a career in cardiology. He is passionate about reducing disparities in cardiovascular health outcomes, particularly among underserved population. So join me in welcoming Dr. Abdulkareem Babalola. Are you on call, sir?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Let's welcome him, please. Let's jam our hands together. Let's use the clapping emoji there. Yes, yes, yes. You can see our hands. Yes, let's appreciate him. He is here to serve us hot, hot. So I believe you are here to also receive it. Those stuffs. So let's.
Much for the introduction, and thank you so much for putting this together. And it's really a pleasure to be here with you guys. Um, so For those who don't know me, like my name is Abdulkareem. I graduated in Ife back in 2021, so it's been 4 years. Like time flies. So I graduated in Ife in 2021, and then I subsequently went on to do my master's in public health, which I recently just finished. And then I was also lucky enough to match this year, so that's really cool. And it's really a pleasure to be here sharing my match story with you guys. So, as I'm about to start, just feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions or just any curiosities about what I say, or you could just wait during the Q&A session, and then I would go ahead and just and ask your questions then. So to get started with this whole story, I
I
would
would
say,
like to ask a question, if it's okay.
uh, Amarachi, could you go ahead and remove this person?
Fuck you, nigger. Why the fuck do you want to remove me, you fucking dirty nigger? Fuck your dirty
Yeah,
ass.
Who are
yeah,
these people?
yeah, yeah. So I think it's like all these hackers or something. Yeah, so maybe just be on the lookout for that. Okay. So to go ahead, so basically my mastery, I would say it's more or less started from um right from medical school. Like most of you guys right now, I didn't really know much about like the whole USMLE pathway. I didn't really know much. So I more or less Nigeria, so the PLAB pathway, which was like UK, and also the USMLE pathway. But for me, it's always been the US, partly because I already had family in the US, and also because I always felt if you really wanted to like reach the peak of your profession, the US is the way. That's not to say obviously you can't do it in other way, but it's just my own personal opinion. And for the PLAB route, I just personally didn't fancy that PLAB route. It's not as if I really had anything against it, but just it wasn't my own path. So I knew right from medical school that I wanted to go through the USMLE pathway. So because of this, but I didn't really know how, but I just knew that was what was going to happen. So throughout medical school, I didn't really do anything to that effect. And my journey really started after graduating. So I graduated 2021, and then I decided to stay back in Ife to do my house job. So it was towards the end of house job. I think I finished my house job in like 2022, around November. That was when I started actively pursuing kind of gathering information on how to actually go about this whole USMLE pathway. And to start, I started reaching out to people. I reached out to a number of seniors, friends, and colleagues. So it was actually two of my friends and classmates, one of which is going to speak with you here, Jared, that actually put me through the whole registration process. So the first thing I had to do was do the ECFMG registration. ECFMG is just like the Educational Commission for the Foreign Medical Graduates. So they are the body that would more or less that you need to certify you to be eligible to apply for like a residency or fellowship in the United States. So that's like usually the first step. I had to do that registration before I could actually apply for like the step one and step two exams. So after the registration, and the registration was actually pretty straightforward. So I completed my registration in November. Yeah, in November, it was like the ending of November 2021. And just like a nitpick, so the only thing I needed for that registration, just so that you guys will have the information, was just my transcript. And then they had other forms you had to fill. And then I think you had to pay like a fee of 160 at the time. I don't know what the fee is now. So that's just what you had to do for the registration. But the registration was really, really pretty straightforward. So after registering in November, I the next thing I had to do was apply for the exam. But so usually the registration is the easy part. The next thing, applying for the exam, is actually the hard part, because then that's when you start to get anxious, and that's when reality really starts to set in. That I'm about to register for this thing, which I don't know. So I held off on actually registering for the exam then. So I spent the whole of December 2022 trying to research, going on YouTube, trying to meet different people to ask about materials to use and all. I spent a good. Now, the truth is, for the USMLE, actually, the main materials you actually need is just your UWorld and also your the UWorld and also the FA. So not really, you don't really need much. All you need is the UWorld question bank and also the FA that you need, and you're good. But obviously, because of like the whole anxiety, fear, phobia from not knowing what it entails, I think deceived myself. Like I spent almost 3 weeks just researching materials that I didn't really need. So it wasn't until okay, yeah. So at that time, I was also preoccupied with applying for my MPH degree, because I knew that was something that was going to boost up my CV for the application, and also so you all is just like is the question bank that you need for the USMLE. So it's just the question bank that you pay for, and you just use it for preparation for the USMLE. So like I said, um, so the second material is the first aid. So the second material is first aid. That's FA. It's just first aid FA. So it's first aid for USMLE step one. The next thing that I then want. So it wasn't really until the end of towards like December ending, where I remember I spoke to a friend who just advised me that it would be best for me to more or less register for the exam, and that would actually push me to be more serious with the exam. That was when which I decided to do. So as of December, that was when I actually committed to registering for the exam, and I paid. I think the exam cost. I think its cost of exam is like about 900 plus. Just let's estimate it as $1,000. So if I register for the exam and then I put my exam date to June, and usually, for anybody who is going to write the exam, this is something I usually advise people to do to make sure they register for the exam. Like, because that's the only way you become be spinning your wheels. You wouldn't really take it as serious. So I registered for the exam. So I started preparing for the exam much more seriously than before. I started doing questions on the UWorld that I initially mentioned, and also while also reading the first aid. Then I started using some other materials like YouTube materials to explain concepts that I'm not really sure about. But really, all those explanations, every single thing you need is in your UWorld. That's all you need. All you need is your UWorld and your first aid, and you are all good. So so the UWorld typically cost about for, I think at the time, depending on the subscription, but 6 month subscription is about 400 plus, $400 plus. But a year subscription is way more. And I remember then I think I did the subscription for like a year then, but because I thought I really needed all. But so I said I registered in December, so that I registered for the exam in December, and I put my exam date for June, so that gave me like 6 months in all to kind of prepare for the exam. So I started preparing by January. I kept on preparing, and then by February, I remember by February ending, towards February ending, I was doing tests and I still wasn't getting like very, very good scores. So that started getting me worried, because then I only had like 4 months to my exams. So like at that point, I just entered panic mode, and then more or less reached out to a couple of another friend who I knew had already done the step one. So speaking with this friend was very, very encouraging. And then she more or less told me that the best thing would be for me to get a group. And honestly, that was like the best thing that you could do for yourself for this exam. You cannot do it alone. Like that's something I cannot emphasize enough. Like But the USMLE, you can't do it alone. You need a group because the group keeps you consistent. And so to find a group, what I did was to join a group page. So there's like a very big group page where you have so many people around Nigeria that are in the process of writing the USMLE. So the name is the Kanji group page. So that's the group page. I went on that Kanji group page. It's a Telegram group page where I just put it on the group page. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm looking for like study partners. So a couple of people reached out to me, and then but I finally landed on one, and it was like a group of four. So I joined this group of four. And when I joined, these people were already more or less very, very way ahead of me. So I literally had to play catch up. But that was really the best thing that happened to me during this preparation. So, and I remember we were reading every single day. And we started out like solving like 40 questions every day. So we would meet every single day, like do like 20 questions in the morning, 20 questions in the evening. And this was consistent. I did this consistently from like February, March, April, all the way through May. And honestly, after 2 months of doing this consistently, my scores exponentially grew. And from like solving like 40 questions a day, I moved on to solving 60. And by the time I was nearing my exams, that was like by the time I was nearing my exams in June, early June, by early mid June, I was already solving like um, 200 questions a day, which is very, very which is really something that you wouldn't think you would be able to do when you first start out. Because when you first start out, solving like 10 questions a day is like something you would think is really impossible. But as you get closer to the exams, you find out is really good. So for like the exam day, normally the step one is like a 7-hour exam. Yeah, it's 7 hours, but it's not as crazy as you think. It's 7 hours. If you're well prepared, like that 7 hours will breeze past. It will really, literally breeze past. You wouldn't even feel a thing. So naturally, you would be told that okay, you should bring food with you, bring this, bring that. But honestly, personally, on that day, all I took was like, I mean, I brought all the food because of what they were saying, but all I took was just, I think I just took like maybe some, is it gala and then water, and that was what I used throughout for that exam. So the exam, yes. So the exam, we don't do it in Nigeria, so I had to travel I had to like fly to Ghana to do the exam. So I flew like 2 days before the exam, and then I went ahead to Ghana to do the exam. The exam itself, honestly, the exam itself was way, 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 way easier than the actual preparation. Uh, some of the questions you would find in the exam, you would literally think like it's just too basic. So this is just to tell you that the USMLE is not as hard as you think it is. The most difficult part of the USMLE is literally the whole preparation part. So it's really not as hard as you think it is. So after that exam, my results came out in 2 weeks and I passed. So subsequently, I then moved on. So I resumed my master's in public health by August. So the plan, which is usually what is advised, the ideal plan is for you to write your step two 4 months after your step one, which is usually what is advised, because then your step one content will still be fresh and all that. But because of me, like because of the workload of my master's, having to adapt to life here in the United States, having to uh, school, and while also working here as a graduate research assistant, like the workload was just too much. So I couldn't really um, do that in 4 months. So that wasn't feasible for me. But while still going through the masters, I still stuck with my group. We would still meet we will still meet to do like preparations for the step two, even though it wasn't as consistent as the step one. But I still stuck with the group. So I finally booked my step two the following year. So I resumed my master's here in August 2023, and then I booked my step two for the following June 2024. So that was the plan because that was when the masters would be on break. So, but at this juncture, this is one thing I always advise people. So, because you really don't want to have that kind of stress, like it's really putting yourself to stress. If you could find a way to quickly do your step one and step two before coming to the US to do a master's, if that is your plan, that would be ideal because you really don't want to go through this kind of stress and it's just so unnecessary. So anyway, I booked my exam for the June next the following year, and then I while also the June 2024 was when I booked my exam, but the whole application cycle was to start. I think the application cycle for the match for matching started around also, I think it started around early June, but I think I booked my exam around July, yes. So now as of early 2024, I was dealing with masters. I was starting to put all the materials for the match that I needed for the whole match applications together. I had to start saving money for the match, and also I had to start preparing for the step two USMLE. So imagine compounding all this together. Yeah, it's not something you want to do. So anyway, so for the in terms of like putting applications together for the match, I you some of the things you need, like you would need to prepare your statement of purpose, which is like the easiest part. All you need to do is just make sure you write like a decent statement of purpose of why you're applying to a residency, why you're applying to whichever program you want to apply, what inspired you to come into medicine. That's like the easy part. You don't have to write. You usually don't have to write something spectacular for that. You just make sure you have something decent and not something that will raise like red flags. So after that, I then had to start building my CV. So this is the point where you start to have a lot of regrets as to why, oh my God, why didn't I do this thing in the past? Why didn't I do this and all that kind of thing? So because that CV is really where you can really shine, and that's really what it really holds power in whether you match or not. So some of the things they tend to look out for in the CV. Number one is your research. So having a lot of publications is a very, very, very good one because they really rank you high if you have a lot of publications on your CV. So personally, um, I went in with one publication which I actually got from back home. So I remember my final year public health thesis. We actually published it, and then and I also had like an abstract from here while doing my master's. So that was what I really didn't have time to really write up publications. So that's something I also advise people that if you have a lot of publications, this is what you want to do. Start planning for, like start putting out publications. So I went in with that and also the abstract. So the other thing you need on your CV is they really like volunteerism. So one thing that you could actually take advantage of, which is something I was lucky enough to take advantage of, was like volunteerism. The IAC. I know IAC does a lot of volunteerism, so that's really something that you could take advantage of. That would be very, very good in your CV. And if you also have like, if you happen to have like outside school, if you happen to have connections with like NGOs and something, because I know recently some NGOs in Nigeria came to give a lecture here and they told me that they actually offered internships in Nigeria. So that's something like you could actually look into in terms of like volunteer work. So volunteerism is something they are really big on. They really like that. Then the other thing, which is actually also very top, is the clinical experience. So for in terms of your clinical experience, the house job is something that is good. So You don't really need to bother about that because everybody's going to do the house job. But the other thing they need is the US clinical experience. So that's part of the reason. That's part of the reason. So I was lucky enough to do some US clinical experience because I came here to do my master's. So I could do some US clinical experience here while also doing my master's. So for the US clinical experience, we usually talk about two things, which is the observership and then the externship. So the observership, they're more or less the same thing, but just that for the observership, all you'll be doing is literally you just be following the attendants, like that's the consultants up and down, like you following them. They don't allow you to touch the patients, but you can discuss with like the consultant and all. But for your externship, so it's a bit higher than observership. For externships, you get to talk to patients, you get to examine patients, you get to come up with like plans, treatment plans and all for patients. So that's why they usually rate it higher. But externships are way harder to get than observerships. So for externships, you literally need to do a lot of paperwork, you need a lot of connections, so it's really a big hassle. So personally, I just went for the observership. I didn't have the time because I didn't have the time to even say I wanted to start applying for an extension because I wanted to apply as well as like 2024. So I couldn't even consider externship. And I know for my friends, and I know Jared would speak more to this. For my friends back in Nigeria, getting externship was more difficult because yeah, you're not in the US, so it's a bit more difficult. But I know there's also the option for doing like virtual observerships that would also that you could actually use to put on your CV. So having added research, your clinical experience in Nigeria, your US observership, and also volunteerism, they also like to see something that puts you, something you need that's more or less outside the clinical practice. And for me, one thing I put there was like, so I was literally, so while on masters, I was also like doing like a teaching assistant for like uh, health economics class. So this is like something that is way off outside medicine. So that's something kind of interesting. So if you have something else which you're doing is something like it could be something as interesting as maybe you do something in makeup. You do like something really like that this person is not just medicine. This person also has a high lifestyle medicine. So that's just like I need from the key. And then so because I find that the minimum number of research publications you have on your CV is about four. But I intend to do that. Yeah. It's that so I think it's something you should fret about. So next, after looking on the CV that I had on the US experience, the next thing I had to do was then actually write the two exam. So okay, the next thing I had to do was write. So I booked my step one about 6 months before the actual exam. So some would say, so basically don't use other people's timeline. I feel just use your own timeline. You know yourself best and just make this decision for when you want to take your exam. So so this now come. So I said I booked my step two in July. Okay, yeah, so it's Kanji. The Telegram page is Kanji. That's Kainji. Yeah. So haven't put so the whole CV thing for me, I booked my exam in July, but between like January of 2024 and July, I was kind of accumulating everything I needed for my CV just to apply. So I finally took my exam in July, and then I also passed that one, luckily. And yeah, so before I took that exam, I also had to quickly write my OET exam. So I had to write my OET. So OET is just like the occupational English test. That one is like one of the easiest exams you write. So I think I prepared for it in less than a week or two, and just went to write it. too easy. So, but you have it for like 2 years, so it will be good if you could. It's if you maybe after your step one is if it's something that you have time for, you could just quickly get it out of the way because you need it to apply for your ECFMG certification. So after taking my OET, now I had my step one and I had already taken my step two as of July. So I put in my application, I sent in all those things to ECFMG, then I got certified. So now this is where like the cost starts coming in because one thing you had to do was like you had to pay for the ERAS portal. Now the ERAS portal is more or less where you put in all your applications. So that's where you put in your CV, you put in your CV, you put in your statement of purpose, and that's also where you put in all the programs you want to apply to. So the EROS application, I guess that one was about $160 to apply. Then in applying for a certification too, you also had to pay for something called like the pathway, which you had to pay. I think that one was almost like 900 plus dollars to apply for. And then, but yeah, so I finally applied for that one. And then there are also some things you had to get from Nigeria so you had to get like a statement of good standing from like um, you had to get like a statement of good standing from the MDCN in Nigeria, and you also had to get you had to get something from the medical school. Now I forget what its name. I don't know, Jared, can you remember what we had to get from the medical school? So I forget, but as I continue to speak,
I think it was the transcript. We had
yeah,
to get our transcript
the
sent.
transcript, and then
And
there's
then
also
there's this Dean's letter.
yes, so we had to
Yeah.
get the Dean's letter from medical school. I think
MSP, Medical Student Performance Evaluation.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we had to get that from the medical school. So those are the things we had to put together. And then the next thing, once you put all those things together, that's like the main thing from your own end. So the next thing you had to do was like to research the programs you wanted to apply. So that's now another difficult hurdle. Now, in researching the program, you had to kind of be realistic with where you're coming from. So now the two things are true in choosing a specialty and also in researching the programs, you had to kind of be realistic with the plight of the IMG in the whole system. So, in terms of choosing a specialty, personally, coming from Nigeria, I always wanted to do like surgery, but I also wanted to do like surgery, but because of like number one, surgery is not like the easiest one to get here. Like you really had to do much, much more work to get into surgery, and I didn't really have time for that. And then number two, work-life balance. Like I just didn't think like surgery would give me the kind of work-life balance I wanted to. So I really didn't consider that. So that's why I decided to opt for internal medicine. And with internal medicine, I felt it just gave me the kind of flexibility I wanted to really go into like whichever specialty I want. And then nowadays, the world is really moving towards minimally invasive. So personally, my plan is really to go for like a specialty in interventional cardiology. So that would actually give me the balance to use my hands for procedures as well as still practice medicine while still maintaining some level of like work-life balance. So that's really what made me choose that path. And in terms of the programs you would choose, so this is one thing that I didn't know. So this was like a mistake I made, but thank God it really didn't affect me that much. So you want to, so Jared knows what I'm talking about. So you want to sieve out programs that are really, really IMG friendly. So yeah, you would want to go for all those top end programs, all the Yale, the Harvard, and everything. But yeah, it's a very good one. But you also want to be realistic with where you're coming from. So one advice that really helped me with choosing programs is number one, your first priority is to choose programs that you know you are issuing for. So you look at your profile, you look at the programs that you know, you look at the program profile, and then you choose based on the ones that you know that, wait, this one is very, very sure for me. I'm the kind of person they're looking for. In fact, I'm overqualified for this program. Those are the ones you choose first. Then secondly, the ones you then go for the ones that, so it's like if you're applying to, let's say, 100 programs, those kind of programs should make up like at least 80% of your 100 programs. The remaining 20% are the ones that you were like, okay, these are like nice programs. Okay, they may or may not, they may be on the fence with my own application, then you go for them. And then the like top 1-2% are those ones that you're like, well, let me just try my luck. If I get in, I get in. If I don't get in, I don't get in. Put in, you pick all those applications together, you do your researches on the program, you pick in the programs, and then so you would have to pay for each programs. And I think for us, the first 30 programs was like 100 and something dollars. Then every program you pick after that, you had to pay like, I think it was like $30 per program for every single program. So I remember personally, I applied to like 100. That's really what takes the money. So we finally submitted on by September, and then after that we went for this process. Like I ended up getting like 3 interviews, which is actually quite good for IMGs. Actually, so imagine after outside 100 programs, you end up getting 3 interviews, and so now, obviously, because I had like 3 interviews, it wasn't that many. It's something you start to panic. But one advice that I got is, yeah, it doesn't. Your main focus is to match. Your main focus is not to get many interviews. So, with those 3 interviews, you just had to put all your best, like practice, 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 and then just put your best foot forward. And that was what exactly what I did. So I just put my best foot forward on all 3 interviews, and yeah, I was lucky enough to match. So come match day, the whole thing happened, and then this was like March of this year. The whole thing happened, and yeah, I matched. So yeah, basically that's just like my short story about the match. So let me see. I have some. I know Amarachi sent me some questions, some talking points she would like me to address, but let me just open the floor for questions first before I go on to those talking points.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for that wonderful session. So, do we have anyone with question? Do we have anyone with question? We are just entertaining just 3 questions at the moment because there is a section for question and answer. Let's just entertain 3 questions from the audience. Do we have anyone with question? Anyone with question? Okay. Uh please, Amarachi, can you please allow the person to ask question?
All right. Okay, I can see my chief here. Dr. Precious, Dr. Spitfire, she's saying she has a question. So please, like, I can also see Olajide Adetayo. There are some people that were raising their hands previously that had to drop their hands
Okay.
because the speaker was still speaking and it was not time for questions. So if you're raising your hand before and your hand was dropped, please feel free to raise your hand now. Then you have to drop your hands because it wasn't time for questions, but it's time for questions. So please, Dr. Mike, yeah, please take the floor.
Sorry, what do you say?
Yeah, I
So
said you should give the like people that want questions, like you
o-
can go ahead and give them.
okay. Um Olamide, am I right? So you can
Okay.
Olamide Ola
Good day,
okay,
sir.
okay.
Oh,
Good
Olajide, do you
day.
mean to call Olajide?
Yes, we are listening.
All right. Hello, sir. Thank you very much for the story, for sharing your story with us. I just wanted to ask, I was curious. So you said you went for masters in public health. I was wondering, um, was it a paid one? Was it full scholarship? I just want to know how you went about that. And also, are there other master's programs that one can go for besides public health? Thank you very much.
Yeah. So for me, my master's is actually paid, even though I got some part scholarship. So it wasn't full scholarship, but it was mostly paid with some scholarship. And I know other people I mean, there are other masters that you can go for. I know I have a friend who is doing a master's in bioengineering, so it really all depends on you and like what skill set you want to add for yourself. But personally, I decided to go for public health because that was what I wanted to do.
All right. I think I'll just probably ask a follow-up question to Dr. Precious's question, which is that um is it that when let's say someone who wants to like do a
So
master's
sorry.
while
Okay.
yeah, Dr. Lee, please give me a minute. Yeah, so let's say someone wants to do a master's while
Okay.
like
Okay.
you want to take the route that you took. You
Yep.
went for internal medicine, so I would probably think that okay, perhaps like doing public health might have helped to boost your CV and your portfolio. So someone else that like does it, what I'm asking is people who want to do other like specialties, does that mean that they should consider doing like masters in things that like are related, or is it that it doesn't matter, like as long as you have like a master's degree it will help, or do people have to look out to like for specific master's program when they are applying for specific specialties?
Yeah. So I would say it's kind of a bit of both. So if you were going for like a surgical specialty and you went for like a master's in anatomy, obviously that would, or a master's in surgical related masters, that would be much more attractive to like the surgical specialty. But in truth, it doesn't really matter because most of the mentors I spoke to here, what they say is all they are looking for is the fact that you have some research capabilities. So what the masters just tells them is that this person can do research, and that's really it. Doesn't really matter the masters you go for, but so if you want to do public health and want to go for like a specialty like surgery, honestly, you can still go ahead. And while doing your public health, you can tailor your research interest to more of surgical pathologies, like epidemiology and surgical pathologies and all. So it's something you could actually do. So it really doesn't matter how you choose. Like you can play around with anything. But in terms of doing the only other thing I would say here is like you really do not have to do a master's to match. So that's the only thing. So, but if you're not going to do a master's, then your research portfolio has to be a lot. That's just the thing. Now, so but if you do a master's, the master's already tells them that you can do research, so you can get away with like less research portfolio. But if you don't have a master's, then you have to make sure your research portfolio is a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. So let's entertain the last question. Olajide, Olajide, please can you come up?
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your experience with us. So, what I wanted to ask was, you said concerning surgical residency, like matching into your surgical specialty. You said there were some things that you didn't do. So maybe you could tell us about such things or how to like increase like the opportunity of getting admitted into surgical residency. That's my question, sir.
Yeah. So for surgical residency, like I said, it's much more work because you have to break that barrier of being an IMG coming from like outside the US because they naturally favor like most US graduates here. So it's you really have to do more work in that regard. So more work in terms of like you need like a very, very good research portfolio. And also you need to do observerships. So surgical residencies, you need to do observerships with oh, it's just going to be best if you do observerships in the US here. It's not going to be as easy to get into a surgical residency if you were to do a virtual observership. Because one important thing I actually failed to highlight is the importance of networking. Because you really need to network for this. So it's not enough to just put your CVs together and then just submit. You really have to reach out to people, talk to them, like make your case, have people speak on your behalf. So it's something that you really need to do. So for surgical specialties, that's something that you have to do. And the only way you can network effectively, apart from like using LinkedIn and all, the way you can network effectively is actually doing US observership. So the surgeon gets to meet you directly, they get to know you, and that way there's a higher chance that you're likely to end up with them than research portfolio, and then two, I'll say consider US, like actual in-person US.
We would like to say
Yeah, so
thank you
there are
once
some
again.
questions. Hi, Dr. Nidhi. There are some questions in the chat
Okay, yeah,
box.
that.
Abdulkareem might have to excuse himself after a
Yeah,
while. So, like, maybe he should take the questions that directly
Oh,
get to him. And, sir, if you could still
okay.
join us when you're done, like, if
yeah,
you
no
could
worries.
join us back again because we have, like, another question, we'll be
Eh,
grateful. So, yeah,
Okay.
Dr. Mitch, please.
let me
Yeah.
see. So
Okay.
the okay, I think I answered some of them. Let me see. So is there any so first thing I would say is it all depends on you. That's the first thing I would say. It all depends on you. Then secondly, I would say normally for step one, we typically say like within 4 to 6 months, but it all depends on you. Some people go as long as a year, but for me, I did my own within like 4 to 6. But just that because it's like the first exposure to USMLE, that a lot of people fear it, but it's actually the easiest exam you write. So, and it's now pass fail, and I think to pass the score is like 200 and something. So it's really very easy to pass step one. So I don't think it's something that you should take like a year. So within 4 to 6 months, just of dedicated 3 to 4 months immediately after your step one. Because your step two is literally your step one content with now clinical experience, like clinical part. So you don't really you want to take it because you you then add on the added layer of what treatment will you offer. So that's just for step two. So 4 to 6 months for step one, just like okay, 6 months. I would even say 4 months, but 6 months because it's like your first exposure, and then yeah. But for step two, just quickly write it in like 4 months, and you're fine. Um, so there's another question on like the cost implications of the exam. Registration, I think to register for ECFMG, I think I had to pay like $160. But before I even answer this question, I'm going to share like cost breakdown of the entire USMLE thing in maybe I'll send it to Amarachi, and maybe Amarachi can share it with everybody. But generally, the whole thing that would give you the breakdown of like all the exams you write, all the first aid, the cost of the first aid, the cost of the UWOD, and every single thing you need for the exam. So, and the total for that is like, so from start, like say from the time you start the whole process till the time you match, it would be like an estimated $8,000. So in total. But this is not like to scare you or something, but because that $8,000 is just something, it's not something you have to drop at the time. It's just something that you have to pay piecemeal. So it's going to, but accumulated, it's like you end up spending an estimated like $8,000. And this is factoring that you apply to 100 programs. So that's just like the basic in terms of cost implication. But I'll share that with Amarachi and then maybe she can go ahead and share it with everyone.
All right, thank you
Yeah.
very much, Sam. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
want to ask because one of the things that keep coming up that a lot of people keep talking about is, oh, I don't have money, I don't have the money is a lot. So I wanted to ask, like, what is the lowest amount? Because I've seen someone has said he spent up to like $25,000, and now you are saying eight
Oh,
thousand dollars. So I wanted to ask, like,
no.
what is the lowest possible amount that you've ever heard of that someone spends on it, like on the whole
S-
process?
so the thing is, in terms of like the basic, so let me see, for me, I guess I would say if I were to consider everything I spent, so removing like flight costs to Ghana, removing all this on data cost while I was staying in Nigeria, and then so removing all those what do you call it, indirect costs. For the main thing, I would say I spent roughly like 5K. Yeah, roughly like 6K on the whole exam. So now this is because I applied. I mean, there are so many things that you can bypass. You don't have to do every single thing. But let's just say I spent like 6K for the entire exam. But it also depends on the number of programs you apply to. I have friends that applied to just 30 programs instead of 100 and they still matched. But obviously, the more the number as an IMG, the more you apply, the better your chances of matching. So ideally, most people will say ideal apply to 100. But if you have a good profile and you're confident, honestly, you can even do for US medical graduates, most of them apply to like 20 to like 30, but it can be ideal starting yeah.
Let me
So
get it better.
I
Yeah.
also heard that there is no longer the award you okay you had 60 something and 260 something or something. So the only thing is I think now they say they are using pass or fail. Is that right,
Yes,
sir?
that's correct. So for step one is just pass fail. So the only one where your scores matter is for the residency matching step two score, but for your fellowship matching step three score. So once you
Oh,
get, so it's just your step two and step three that, yeah.
uh-huh. So also,
I
sir, I
think
want to
this is
ask, USMLE residency and the
Well,
likes. How does it apply,
those,
sir?
I mean, for so first thing is getting distinction is those will more or less translate you to, it gives you a better chance of passing the USMLEs. And then the other thing is, if you get distinction, so having like on your CV, having like pass with distinction, so it's going to be like way better than MBCHP. And also on your CV, there are places where you put in, especially if you win a prize for them, all of those things really come in handy. And it will also reflect on your dean's letter. So your MSPE how you did. So all those things that are going to reflect on your audience letter. So those are very important things to actually prioritize.
My question, I'll just go straight to
Okay.
my question. So currently a final year student. So doing now if I am aiming to do residency in US or somewhere else. What should I be
Okay.
doing now? Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Well, you are ready to say you want to commit as soon as possible. And how do you commit? Literally by going on to registration. That's one. And then the next thing you have to do is um, um, well, I know you have to do house job next. Take the exams during your house job because house job is crazy. So so register for the ECFMG. At least that way you need your transcript. You get all everything you need for the registration. Then while start like preparing for the exam and plan to take it maybe 2 3 months after a year. I don't know if you've rotated through medicine. Take things like your videos. I know I have a friend that actually published that one. It's something that if you could do, since you're already going to do the work anyway, you might as well just push and get it published. So take that kind of thing seriously because it's something you could add to your CV. Then also start exploring publications right now. Because if you're not actively preparing for the exam, and do that much supervision for that, but you just need like the right people to join forces with, and yeah, you'll be fine. I guess for part six, I would say, and then if you can push to be like BGS, yeah, that's something that would really help. Yeah.
I just something
To
like
start
that.
digging your well before you get thirsty. So start building your LinkedIn profile. Start shooting emails to different people. Hey, um, I am this person. I'm in past six. Oh, I saw your work. I can't. Let me help. I mean, this person, I have plans to write this. Could you, like, you wouldn't just go there and be like, oh, I would need like a reference from you later on. No, just be like, oh, I want mentorship. You get my point? Like go with, okay, I just want, do you have time to meet? So we talk. And then when you meet them, just tell them, oh, you want mentorship.
Ah, I'm Kuku recording. You want to disconnect me? Ah, oh my goodness. Ah, please do, please do, please do. Send. Hey. God.
would be more of, okay, I'm interested in this, and then could you mentor me? So that's how you should always start. Always go with the angle of mentorship. And honestly, within just do this continuously, and I can assure you, like within 6 months to a year, your network would have grown so significantly. And in terms of people like starting out early, honestly, I would say don't stress too much, because you have like all the time in the world to kind of choose your specialty. And even though, granted, I said, yeah, personally, I still, yeah, I like when I came to this country, I was like, yeah, surgery. But then I met, I mean, reality setting, but I also met my PI who is actually a cardiologist, and you know how you see what people who internal medicine, you know how you see somebody and then based on like the kind of work, the kind of accomplishments they have, you want to kind of emulate that kind of achievement. So could that's really something that really inspired me and also pushed me further into this line. So I would say don't fret, like keep an open mind. Don't commit that you it has to be one particular specialty or not. Just keep an open mind, keep your interests as wide as possible, and honestly, you'll be fine. But in terms of like the matching, especially if you're in like 300 level now, one thing I would say is it's not too early for you to start preparing for this USMLE, because, like you rightly said, there are people in other universities. Because I know, like, I have friends who did house job in Lagos, and some people right out of medical school, 600 level, they had already written step two. So that means they wrote step one before they even got to part six. So ideally, all you need to do is for your step one, you need your part four stuff to write step one. So you should actually be ready to write step one after part four. So if I had to do something different after my part four, I would say especially if you've not started pathology and pharmacology. But I know most people like to read ahead. We're like, and if we already like to read way ahead. So if we're going to be reading way ahead, then why not just start reading the USMLE? Because that will really help your path and farm, and also that will help you write and get those exams out early. And before you know it, we'll start having like people matching right out of medical school. So
Uh,
yeah.
okay. Amarachi, do you still have something to say?
No, I just wanted to thank him again and again. Thank God, my
Okay,
holiday
okay,
is
okay.
coming. Dr. Mitch, let's go and start.
So thank you so much, sir. Please let's appreciate our speaker. Let's appreciate Dr. Abdulkareem. Please let's appreciate him. Let's appreciate him.
Yeah.